Yes, yes, the Casanovians. Yes, yes, the Casanovians. Alright, boys. I want to use this live stream to talk to you about one of my early clients back in 2021. So, 19-year-old guy called Reese. And yeah, this is just a super inspiring, super astronomically impressive case study, which I just hope me narrating this client transformation to you fills you with so much hope and optimism rolling into the new year, regardless of how old you are, whether you're 19 or 59 and you feel as though, am I too old? Am I too young? Oh, it's all about looks, money, status, so I need to spend the next decade of my life grinding to be a high value man, and then my dream woman is magically gonna knock on my door. So at the end of this stream as well, what I'm gonna do for you boys is I'm gonna link a full interview that I actually did with Reese from 3 years ago. So I found this in my archives as I was looking through some historic client testimonials. So all the things that I'm going to share with you during this live stream, evidence has got the loudest voice, so you know that I'm not talking out my ass and making up this fictitious character called Reese. He is a real guy. He was 19 years old when I worked with him. We completed a coaching in-person immersion in London. So once you've watched this stream, this is just like here to whet your appetite and give you some hope and optimism and joy. And then you can go ahead and watch the interview. I'll post it into the comments once I get back to my place. So Reese was a guy, 19 years old. He lived in a small town in the south of England. The guy had a lot of social anxiety built up. He'd known about this world of cold approach for a couple of years, stumbled across my content, and instantly he knew that he wanted to unlock this skill set. Reese had this forward thinking mindset, very much the same that I had when I first started doing cold approach at 23 years old. Like when I went into Leeds City Centre on the 4th of July 2020, I did my first approach. The reason why I wanted to get started with this skill set early is because I wanted to invest into my future skill set, if that makes sense. I was like, right, I'm 23 years old right now. I don't want to be using dating apps. Nightclubs are closed. I can't attract women through my social circle because I have no friends. So I want to invest and go all in with this skill set now at 23 years old, so I can really enjoy the fruits of my labor as I progress. And Reese was in the same position as well. So he'd made a little bit of money from crypto, and he took that money and he invested it into his coaching experience with me. And I think out of all of the people that I've coached, Reese stands out as a truly inspiring individual. Like, the guy was a pleasure to coach from start to finish. And if there's one thing that you can take away from Reese's immersion, the reason why he was able to get the results that he did, and the results, they're all documented in the interview that we did together. So go listen to that once this is finished. Like, the guy had multiple girlfriend experiences from our weekend alone. So in just a couple of days, he went from never having done a direct cold approach in his entire life. Each day, we were easily hitting about 40 approaches, 40 direct cold approaches with me in London. As you boys know, one approach with me is worth around 30 approaches on your own. So you do the maths, I can't do it right now. But you imagine how proficient Reese got after hitting 40 approaches with me in London every single day across our weekend together. Because when we're working together, I can give him the instant feedback. I can hold him accountable. I can give him that gentle push. You know, like when you're on your own and you see opportunities that, you know, you want to approach that girl, but because you've got nobody to give you that push and to hold you accountable, you let the opportunity slide by, and then you give those voices in your head and you give those self-limiting beliefs more time to solidify until they can become too difficult to break. So with me by his side, I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was certainly a lot more simple. So my process for taking guys who consider themselves socially anxious, never done a direct daytime call approach in their lives. Maybe they've tried going out there, they've tried approaching, maybe they did a couple of directions, or maybe they tried to give a few compliments, but they were just like a few lazy hit and runs and nothing seemed to stick. The 3-step process I take my guys through in a single weekend. This is the reason why they get results. So first of all, we've got immersion, okay? As I've said to you boys time and time again, it takes about 100 direct call approaches to start to develop proficiency. Reese exceeded this amount during our time together, but then that number gets amplified because he's doing those approaches with me, okay? That immersion period is everything. And you want to condense that immersion period and make it as fast as possible to do those first 100 approaches. Because this is a game of momentum. If you're trying to spend the next 2 years hitting those first 100 approaches, you're not going to do it. You're going to go out one day, maybe you get a few undesirable outcomes, or you have a few conversations that don't go your way, or maybe you get a few phone numbers and then the phone numbers flake, and because you've got nobody to normalize it, you get stuck in your head, you give up, you start consuming all this red pill or black pill content. Oh, it's all about looks. Attraction is all genetic. Oh, the way that I've always been is the way that I'm always going to be. And you start wallowing in your own egoic self-pity. So that immersion is so important. It's so crucial. It's the same process that I take all my guys through. I give them the entire playbook. I hold them accountable for their actions during a single weekend. You don't need to be trudging your way through this, banging your head against a brick wall. I allow people to just skip all the trial and error, get the skill set down, and then we transfer over to integration. So after I worked with Reece in London, I introduced him to like-minded guys in the city. So he was traveling from his small town in the south of England every single weekend, and he was linking up with the guys I introduced him to. And dude, he was having the time of his life. I remember I introduced Reece to George, another one of my clients, and George was like, dude, I don't know what you've done to Reece, but this guy, he's just on it. Like, he was going to London every weekend, he was booking out Airbnbs, he was linking up with guys, he was hitting the approaches, he was having his girlfriend experiences. Again, it's all documented in the interview, so listen to that once it's finished. But he was hitting it hard. And every time I was back in the city, we would meet up, we would go out, we would do a few more sessions together. Having somebody in his corner to hold him accountable, because something that I noticed has happened with So some guys who work with me, they've done coaching experiences in the past with other supposed coaches. And usually what happens is the coaches that they've worked with, they only offer one like big hit of dopamine, right? It's like, come along, do this weekend, maybe you'll get results, maybe you won't, but there's no aftercare, there's no support, there's no sustained support over a prolonged period. So what often happens with guys who've done coaching experiences in the past is they get this massive high, but then nothing changes, because that accountability, going from immersion to integration, is what makes the skill stick. So the way that we did that with Reece and all the other guys that I work with, they work with me one-on-one. I give them the playbook, I hold them accountable for their actions during our time together, and then I'm in their corner for a sustained period to make sure they don't fall off the horse. And that integration period is so important, because one of my mantras is learn day game, don't become a day gamer, right? You don't want to be that guy who's going out every single Saturday, spam approaching, doing 40 approaches, no excuses. That's where you start, but it's not how you finish, right? So you go from being the shotgun, where you're just doing those approaches, 40 approaches on a Saturday, 40 approaches on a Sunday, 40 approaches on a Monday, and then you turn into the sniper, okay? And the way that we do that, the way that we integrate is by setting an intention, yeah? So imagine right now, right? Imagine you've worked with me, you've got your 100 approaches done, and now you want to integrate the skill into your busy lifestyle. All that comes down to is every time that you leave the house, you set the intention. You say to yourself, when I see somebody who interests me, I will go over and I will start a conversation with that person. That's going to mentally lubricate you, because it's too easy to go from doing an immersion, like having all those approaches under your belt, to then living like an accident, sleepwalking through life, not having a clear intention when you leave the house. And then opportunities can go past you, but because you've not mentally primed yourself for the approach, you let those opportunities slide. So immersion, go hard, get the skill, and then integrate it into your busy life. And then the final phase is the selection phase. So by this point, you've done your immersion, You've got those 100 approaches under your belt. You've done them in a condensed time period, so you've not lost the momentum. Now you've integrated it, right? Now you're integrating it into your life. So you can approach, just make sure I don't get run over. By this point, you can approach an autopilot, you can get dates on demand, you can carry conversations, you're no longer stuck in your head, worrying about running out of things to say, you're no longer living your life like a closet heterosexual, or you've overcome the fear of the spotlight effect, or what are these people gonna think of me? You've overcome all that bullshit. The final phase is selection. Now, for most of the guys that I work with, the selection phase is where they select a woman, not from a place of scarcity, but from a place of abundance. But for Reese, because he was 19 years old, he wasn't in a place in his life where he was ready to select a girlfriend. So for Reese, the selection phase was actually just deciding what he wanted his dating life to look like. Like, what did he want his dating life to look like on a consistent basis? And for Reese, it was building his business. So he's now running a copywriting business. He's got that there, get at it, hustle, get up, get it, create, conquer, all this stuff, right? So he's got his copywriting business going on, and he wanted to have multiple relationships going on the side. And that's exactly what he got. So for him, the selection phase, it wasn't about selecting one woman, it was about selecting multiple, because that's what he wanted. And that's what this game should be about. All this is, this thing that we call game, the way that I define it is simply learning how to get what you want. Yeah, there's no rules to any of this stuff. If you want to find a wife-worthy woman who you can do life with, that's an amazing goal. Then you just make your actions aligned with your ambitions, and then you get that thing. Maybe you're a younger guy and you want to play the field. You want to be in this constant flow of romantic abundance where you can get dates on demand and get experience under your belt. Then great, do that. It's whatever you want, dude. And I think that's why working with guys one-on-one, like I do, is so important. Because I think if you do group coaching, we're all unique individuals, and we all have a unique set of principles that we need to follow in order to get us the results that they want. So that's why I've never subscribed to the ideology of group coaching. That's why all my stuff is one-to-one. So Reese went from this scared, insecure, 19-year-old kid to conquering cold approach in a single weekend, simply by following the proven system that I give to all my guys. So you can listen to the interview. I'll get back home. It's pretty rowdy out here. I'll get back home. I'll link the interview. You can listen to that. By the way, when you listen to the interview, you'll have to forgive me for how juvenile I used to express myself. To be fair to me, I was like 24 back then, but I was listening back to the interview this morning. I was like, oh my God, Kristian, you spoke in such a infantile, juvenile way. So it was quite interesting to witness the character development on my side as well. The personal maturation of the way that I actually express myself. So yeah, just apologies in advance for that. It's I cringe myself out listening back to how I used to speak. But anyway, the interview is really valuable. Even if you're in your 50s right now, like as you guys already know, I've got clients in their 50s. I've got one of our guys, we call him the Iceman, 52 years old, worked with me in London in February at the start of this year. He'd gone out there, he tried putting the stuff into practice, nothing seemed to stick. Fast forward to today, he's now got to quote him, he's now got a rotation of statuesque blonde bombshells hitting up his phone, desperate to see him. Then we've got Graham, who a lot of you boys will know. Graham was the 50-year-old guy who never had a serious relationship in his entire life. He'd spent 3 decades petrified of talking to women and putting himself out there. He worked with me in Krakow in August last year. Within a week, he got a 25-year-old absolute stunner of a girlfriend, and the two of them recently celebrated their 1-year anniversary. And then another one of our guys, Jason, 33-year-old single father, worked with him in London last summer. Probably had one of the worst coaching days that I've ever coached. First day was terrible. He was super depressed. Nothing seemed to stick. He came back the next day, completely transformed man, purely from the no bullshit feedback that I gave to him. And he met his now girlfriend through daytime cold approach outside Russell Square Gardens in London. 2 of them are now together. She's helping him scale his business, looking after his children, just bringing peace and joy to his life. So the reason why I give these case studies as well is whenever a guy comes up with an excuse like, oh, I'm too old, yeah, I've got a case study for that. Oh, I'm too short, yeah, I've got a case study for that. Oh, Kristian, I can't do this because I'm bald. I've got a case study for that. Jason's bald. He's absolutely crushing it. He found his dream woman through daytime call approach. Just understand, dude, it's not any of these things which are holding you back. It's not your age, your height, your race, your childhood, your IQ. It's the way that you perceive yourself. It's your perception of these things in relation to your value. And I think the one thing that you can take away from Reese especially was his willingness to just continually put himself into those approaches. Like the way that guy approached, it was ferocious. He was so coachable. Everything I said to him, do this, he did it. He followed it to the letter. And that's all it takes. Yeah, whether you want to become proficient in Muay Thai, whether you want to learn copywriting, whether you want to get really fucking good at daytime call approach as fast as possible, there's systems to learning all of these things. The same way with learning a language, right? There's systems. So all you need to do is get the system, have the accountability, and put the reps in over a sustained period, and you'll get the results that you want. But I think for Reese, it was just that insatiable drive and desire and determination to continuously put himself into those approaches, even if he'd been rejected 20 times in a row. We speak about this on the interview. Even if he'd been rejected 20 times in a row, even if he wasn't feeling it on that particular approach or that particular day, he just had optimism in the absence of certainty, which is how I define confidence. So yeah, boys, this is just purely this is like the starter. When I get back to mine, I'll link the interview in the comments so you can actually listen to Reese's experience of working with me in London during this weekend. Exceptional guy. I think he's a poster boy, especially for teenagers and younger guys who want to learn this skill, but they're not sure if they're a bit too early in the game. So yeah, I'll post that interview once I get back to my place. And you can listen to that. Again, apologies in advance for the juvenile way that I used to express myself. It's quite funny watching back now. But yeah, listen, boys, if you enjoyed this live stream, drop it a like. I do these every single day. And yeah, go and watch the interview that I did with Reese, because it's really fucking cool. And I'll speak to you boys again tomorrow. Mwah!